I have 7 female wives. Go to my Instagram.
Yo, he got his phone in his balls. Steve Jobs did not die for this.
Hey guys, Spider2B here, and today I'm going to be talking about Lucia. No, the twin tail one. No, the other twin tail one. No, the new Lucia Dawn. Thank you. Lucia is back in her Pyroath form to reclaim her place as the newest S-rank fire and plasma attacker Omniframe, arriving in the Shaper's Ripples update. So sorry Hyperly, at least you're still cool and Withering Waves. And in this video, I'll cover her playstyle and rotation, rank upgrades, weapons, builds, her team setups, her cub, and my pull and build recommendations. I'll also cover the Affix team setups that are coming with this update, with their builds and rotations as well. And if you found this video helpful, drop a like, subscribe for more guides, and I'll answer any questions in the comments. And if you guys want to see these guides early or ask questions live, join us here on twitch.tv/Spider2B. And also, please check the pinned comments for any updates or corrections, because I do make mistakes sometimes, and timestamps will be provided as usual. But get comfy, because this might be the longest guide in a while. So Lucia has a pretty unique kit. She has 3 forms or states. So when she starts out the fight, this is her normal form, where she's kind of just walking around. And as you can see in the corner there, the bottom right, there's the orange ultimate kind of flashing around. And then this will activate her hyper form. As long as this bottom gauge, orange gauge below her sword is full, you can hold the ultimate to basically summon the sun, and Lucia kind of floats around a little bit. And then this is her hyper form. And as you can see, when this gauge, this bottom of the gauge runs out, she will have her swords basically disappear and she'll go back to her normal form. And you have to wait a little bit before you can enter her hyper form again. And then her last stage, if I can get to it. So inside her hyper form, if you build enough for her ultimate and you tap it, she'll enter kind of her fully flying state or sword wave state, where you can kind of like hold basic attack to do sword waves and stuff. And this is her final form. So those are basically the 3 states or forms that Lucia can be in. Alright, so as for how Lucia works, when you swap in, the basic attack will be glowing for a few seconds. So every time you swap in, you want to hit basic attack right after to fill a little bit of her sword gauge and her ult gauge. Now, Lucia has a pretty unique orb system. Think of it kind of similar to Hanying Solace Tune. She has these gray orbs above her normal colored orbs, so red, yellow, blue. And these basically just tell you how many orb pings you have, so 9 out of 16. So if I do a red orb, that will consume 3 of the gray orbs. So we spam these. And then as we can see, we can't really spam any more pings because we burned all the gray orbs. So once Lucia swaps in, you should have enough to use her hold ult, and you can tell by the orange gauge below her sword. That should indicate that she can enter her hyper state. So once we enter hyper state here by holding ult, the red and yellow orbs will glow. So you have 2 choices here. You can do spam red orb pings until you see 9 stacks and then basic attack, and this will fill up her gauge. Or you can hit 1 yellow orb and then spam basic attack to fill up the gauge. As you can see there, sword gauge or the yellow sword gauge is full. Now, I do want to note, for the most part, you use the spam red orbs and basic attack over the yellow orb and spam basic attack, but it's used sometimes for certain rotations. Once we're in this form here, hold basic attack to do her air slash attack, and she'll be kind of hovering in mid-air, or you can let go and then hold basic attack again to do her fadeaway attack. And after you usually do the air slash attack, you can hold ult to do her fast ultimate. So as long as you're in the hyper state and you have ult energy, you can use it. Or you can tap ult to enter her flight mode, and then you hold down basic attack to spam sword waves, and you can tap ult again to do the ultimate finisher. So basically, to put all of those together, we're going to start by swapping in and hitting basic attack on Lucia, then hold ult, and here you can either spam the red orb to 9 stacks and then hitting basic attack, but you can also use the yellow orb and then spam basic attacks until you get the 5th attack. And then once your sword gauge is full, you can hold and release basic attack, and from here you can either hold ult for her fast ultimate or tap ult and hold down basic attack for her sword waves, and then tap ult again for her finisher. And that's basically the TLDR. So now let's get to rotations. Now Lucia has quite a few, and these rotations will assume a minimum 6-star weapon and double S. I will cover her 5-star weapon rotation in the weapon section. These are going to be some example rotations compiled by me and my helpers, but you can always play around and adjust the order as needed, since Lucia can vary her rotations a lot. So we're gonna go ahead and start with her Fire Warzone rotation. So this will be double S with no deadline timing. This is probably her most dank rotation. So we're going to start with Liv, swap into Watanabe to do his single ult rotation. Now we swap in Lucia, hit basic attack, hold ult. And then we're going to do a red orb and then a yellow orb and spam basic attack until we get full gauge here. Once we have full sword gauge, we'll hold and release basic attack for the air slash attack, then tap ult, and then holding down basic attack basically. And then once we drain the gauge, tap ult to do the ult finisher. Now we'll use some red orbs and basic attack here before swapping off. Liv will just do her core passive a little bit here, and then we'll swap to Watanabe, do a 3 ping, and then enter his ult form, hold dodge, and then basic, and then spam the blaze orbs, and then tap ult to finish. And then you want to do 2 3 orb pings, and then enter his ult again. Then you want to do a single 3 ping, spam the basic attack 3 times for the blaze orbs, use all those blaze orbs, and then you want to do 1 more 3 ping plus blaze orb, and then basic attack a little bit, and that should have enough ult energy for you to finish. And then afterwards, you can do a 3 ping and swap out. So now we'll swap and we'll hit basic attack again and hold ult on Lucia. We're going to go ahead and spam red orbs until we have a full gauge. And then we're going to hold ult for the fast ultimate, hold, let go, and then hold basic attack again to do her fadeaway attack. And then red orb, basic attack a little bit, tap ult, and then hold down basic attack for sword waves until the gauge is empty. Tap ult for the full ult dive attack finisher. Again, red orbs, basic attack, swap to Liv. Liv should be pretty close to her ult now, so you can use her ult a little bit for extra damage and shred. Swap in Watanabe to do his same rotation here. So once Watanabe finishes his double ult rotation, we're going to go ahead and swap it to Lucia to basically do the full ult rotation again. So red orb, yellow orb, spam basic attacks. But this time when we hold down basic attack, we're going to hold it all the way down to the fadeaway attack, and then do the tap ult, and then hold sword waves. So that's the only difference there. And basically from this rotation on, you always do the fadeaway attack every time she does the hold basic attack. So red orb, basic, and then swap off. And yeah, that's pretty much the rotation. Now let's cover double S deadline Lucia. So double S rotation is a bit easier once deadline timing comes into play. You basically no longer have to do the yellow orbs anymore. You just spam red orbs, and then you go for a 1 full ult rotation, swap off, and then do a fast ult, full ult, fast ult, full ult, and you just keep repeating fast ult, full ult. So after starting with Liv and doing Watanabe's single ult rotation, we swap to Lucia with basic attack, hold ult to enter her form. Then we want to spam 3 red orb pings for the 9 stacks, basic attack for the full gauge, hold and release basic, then tap ult, and then hold basic attack to do the sword waves, and then tap ult again for the finisher. And then we'll use some red orbs and basic attack before swapping off, swap to Liv to do her core passive, swap into Watanabe, do his double ult rotation. We swap basic attack, hold ult, and then we'll do red orb spam, and then basic attack. And then we're going to hold ult for her fast ultimate, then hold basic attack, then red orb and basic a little bit, tap ult, hold basic attack for the sword wave, and perform the ult finisher. And again, we'll use some red orbs and basic attack before swapping off. And that's basically the rotation. So Lucia will repeat that double ult rotation for the rest of the match. So for the Fire Warzone SS3 deadline timing Lucia, we're going to be doing one type of rotation, which is a fast ult, a full ult, and then a fast ult again. So once we finish Watanabe's single ult rotation, we're going to swap to Lucia, do basic attack, hold ult, get the 9 stacks with spamming red orb, and then basic attack, hold down ult for the fast ultimate, hold, let go, and then hold basic attack again, tap ult, hold down basic attack for the sword waves, and once the ult pops up, we want to ult ASAP here, spamming red orbs, and then basic attack for the 9 stacks, holding ult, hold basic here, and then cancel that with a hold ult, red orbs, basic, and swap off. And then now we're just basically doing the same rotation again. Liv with the core passive, Watanabe with double ult rotation. But that's the only rotation that Lucia does. And technically you can do more ults with a basic attack and then fast ultimates afterwards, but you don't really do it unless the enemy's close to death. And you can also sometimes squeeze in 2 fast ults instead of a full ult. And one other thing with double S3 is that you want to utilize the double QTE due to Lucia's higher QTE damage at double S3. That's all of Warzone finally done. Now let's go to Paincage. As for Fire Paincage, we can solo with Lucia here, especially if you don't have Watanabe, and depending on the boss and the investment of your Lucia, you can try a multitude of fast or full ultimates. So for example, here we're going to be doing 2 full ultimates if she needs it. So this is double S Lucia. Start on Liv to swap in basic attack, hold ult to enter her hyper form, red orb until 9 stacks, hit basic attack, the air slash attack by holding down basic, then tapping ult, the sword waves by holding down basic, and then ulting again for the finisher. And then, for example, the boss is still not dead, has a lot of HP. We're going to do yellow orb, basic attack until the gauge is all the way full. And then we're going to hold ult, hold and release basic attack for the air slash attack, tap ult, go into sword waves, and then we're going to use the ult finisher. And then if you really need to, you can use the yellow orbs and you can just keep repeating this rotation if the boss isn't dead yet. Now again, you don't need to do the full ult all the time, so this is an example of a very tanky Paincage boss, maybe something like the Scorpion boss, but you can also, depending on how tanky the boss is, and the investment of your Lucia, so you have double S3, you can also utilize this more, is you can basically do the same rotation as the Fire Warzone, but you kind of just spam fast ultimates. And sometimes that's just enough to already kill the boss without ever having to go into the full ult. As you can see here, boss is already dead. But this is more for higher invested Lucia, so like double S3, deadline timing, stuff like that. And so the OG viewers will already know what I'm about to say, but as always, it depends. So now, with this update, we get introduced to affix element teams, especially if you're a hero or above in Warzone, you will get basically an affix zone that you can utilize the team in, or if you go into skirmish zone in Paincage and you score more than 1.8 million, you can also have bosses that are weak to certain affix teams such as Slash or Plasma. If those two things don't apply to you, so you don't score higher than hero in Warzone, or you don't bother doing skirmish zones, or you don't even reach over 1.8 million in total score for Ultimate Paincage, this part doesn't really apply to you and you can skip forward to the upgrade section. A quick overview of the Plasma Beam element, I guess, specifically with Leaped Karenina Shire. Lucia will play a little bit different. First of all, you will need a Leaped Karenina Shire. Either that, or you wait for Lilith, which is coming in the next patch, and I'll cover the rotation once she arrives in her guide. But you will need to have Karenina leaped for this to work. Otherwise, she will not be able to proc the Plasma or the Plasma team. And you do not want to attempt Plasma without Karenina Shire or Lilith. So basically Lilith or Leap Karenina Shire will fill up the gauge for the Plasma icon here. And I'm going to be doing the Karenina Shire Leap rotation. I'll explain it in a second to demonstrate how it works. As you can see, we have the 1 there. So now we have this kind of timer that will basically keep dropping, and during this window you need to do all of your plasma damage, otherwise you'll just be doing whatever native element damage. If you don't have Lilith or a Leap Karenina Shire to fill up that plasma gauge, the only way you can even gain plasma gauge would be if you did five basic attacks and then hold down blue orb. It gives you like maybe a fourth of the plasma gauge, which means you'll be spending 18 million years just to enter plasma form. So TLDR, you need a Leaped Karenina Shire or you need Lilith. Otherwise, this team does not exist. Let's kind of explain what exactly we did on Karenina Shire. Basically, in general, to fill the plasma gauge, you'll need any red orb and then any 2 or 3 ping. Use the matrix ping and then any other 2 or 3 ping. Not counting matrix ping and not counting the red ping, you need 5 pings in total to get that gauge to be full. So for example, here in this footage, I use the red orb, so the 2 ping red orb, and then I use the 2 ping yellow orb, and then I use the matrix ping, and then I use the 3 ping red. And that fills up the gauge for the plasma affix to be procced later. And because of this, deadline timing helps Shire a lot and is highly recommended. It's kind of more annoying without deadline timing, although it is possible. And also, there will just be times where Karenina Shire will just straight up not give you red orbs and you can't even proc this rotation. So you can see here, we're about to swap to Karenina Shire to do her leap rotation and build up that plasma gauge. But the game was like, nah, let's give yellow and blue orbs, all yellow and blue orbs. So if you don't have any red orbs, your run is done. You're cooked. reset, you question your life, it is what it is. So if you don't want to deal with orb RNG at all, just wait for Lilith. So this rotation that I'm going to show will utilize Nana Knight, S rank coming after Lucia's release, about 1 week after. So I'll cover how exactly she works, her builds and guides and teams and whatever in the next guide. But for now, here is the Plasma rotation for double S Lucia. We're going to start with Karen's rotation, fill up the gauge, hold down basic attack to proc the Plasma, swap into Lucia, basic attack, hold ult, spam blue orb pings until the gauge is full, hold, let go, and then hold basic attack again to do her fadeaway attack. Tap ult, spam the sword waves, and you have to spam tap the ult before this gauge right here runs out. The moment you don't see the golden electricity in this gauge, Lucia's ult is going to be doing fire damage instead of plasma damage. So you have to spam tap the ult before that runs out. If this runs out, your run is cooked and you got to reset. As you can see here, we're doing plasma damage, and then we'll do a blue orb ping and then swap out, and then we'll just do Nanami things. I won't get too deep into how exactly Nanami's rotation works because I'll cover that in her guide, but she's doing her double ult rotation here. Same thing again with Karenina, 1, 2, 3, 3 rotation. Hold basic attack, proc the Plasma, swap into Lucia. And yeah, that's pretty much Plasma, double S, no deadline timing Lucia rotation. But as one of the helpers has said, honestly, if you're in Hero and you're doing Plasma rotation and you don't have deadline timing on Lucia, then what are you even doing with your life? I didn't say it. That's what they said, so let's cover deadline timing next. So we're going to be starting the same thing again, going to Karen, filling up the gauge, hold basic attack, walk the Plasma, swap into Lucia, and then filling the gauge, holding down basic attack all the way to the fadeaway attack. Tap ult, using sword waves, and using ult before it ends. So this is the same rotation as double S earlier. Nami rotation. So this is where it changes. So we're going to do Karen, same rotation, but we're not going to hold the basic attack here. Once we see that 1 on the corner there, we're going to swap to Lucia, spam the red orb, basic attack, hold ult, and during this animation, you hold the blue orb, and that will proc the Plasma. And then you can do a hold ult for the fast ult, hold, let go, and then hold basic attack again to do her fadeaway attack. Tap ult, use sword waves, do as much damage as you can on Lucia before that Plasma gauge runs out. So we're gonna do some blue orbs here. That's pretty much double S deadline timing rotation. A little bit more smooth. Basically, we can fit in a fast ult before a full ult. The very first ult rotation, it will be just the full ult. After Lucia swaps back in, then you can do fast ult, full ult, fast ult, full ult. So for the Plasma double S3 deadline timing Lucia rotation, you can front load 2 fast ults before doing a full ult, before the Plasma gauge runs out. So we'll start with the Leap Karen rotation. Utilize Lucia's QTE and not hold basic on Karen. Swap into Lucia, basic attack, red orbs, and basic attack. Hold blue here during her ult animation, hold down ult for her fast ult, hold, let go, and then hold basic attack again to do her fadeaway attack. Another fast ult, and then we want to spam blue orbs here until our sword gauge is full, hold and release basic, tap ult, hold down basic attack for the sword waves, and then we want to ult before that Plasma gauge runs out. So we're going to do some blue orbs here. And then you swap to everyone else to do their regular rotations. Important to utilize double QTE for Lucia's QTE because it does a lot of damage at double S3. And technically, there's also another rotation where you can do 5 fast ults, but I'm not going to get into it. The timing in there is tighter than my ass crack, man. I can't. You can opt to just run solo Nana Knight and just do a solo rotation to get a decent score in Plasma Warzone, but I'll cover that in her guide. At S5, she triggers all available QTEs. 1, when she does her hold basic attack to consume gauge. So right here, this will trigger QTEs. And then also, when she starts using sword waves in full ult, it'll also trigger QTEs. Or when you do your fast ult, it will also trigger QTEs. As for Lucia's double S, you get a 25 extra damage bonus in her hyper form and in her sword wave form. Every time you enter the flight mode or sword wave form, you're going to be always having a full sword gauge. If you don't have double S, you basically have to keep basic attacking a bit to fill up the sword gauge, and then you can hold down to use the sword waves. And the last part of her double S is after you use the ult finisher. So this move here, the dive attack. When you swap off, Lucia will start doing these kind of like shadow attacks that do fire or ionization damage off field for a few seconds. And overall, double S is her minimum requirement for proper and consistent rotation, should be the stopping point for most people. As for her double S3, she gets increased sword wave damage, and after using the full ult or fast ult on Lucia, her QTE, those attacks that she does off field, will do significantly more damage until the battle ends. And most importantly is when you do the fadeaway attack at double S3, you get a ton of ult energy. I would say like almost half the gauge. So that's why it allows her to do some certain rotations that double S can't. Overall, it's not needed for her to function, but it does speed up her rotation a lot from double S, and it can simplify some rotations as well. And as for Lucia's triple S, after the red and basic attack move, she gets ultimate damage increase, which is the consumable ult buff. Her sword waves gives more ult energy, so she'll get to a full ult finisher faster. She has more off-field Lucia damage after she swaps off, and overall it's a solid damage increase. It doesn't really change her rotation from double S3, but it's a strong upgrade and a stopping point for the Lucia enthusiasts. And then triple S3 is basically more damage for old basic attack, so the air slash attack and the fadeaway attack. So for my rank recommendations, I would say that double S is needed to properly function in sword wave form. It's kind of jank without double S, but it is kind of usable, and this should be the stopping point for most players. Double S3 is one of the more valuable ones in my opinion. It makes her easier to run, and it's a good stopping point for light spenders, or if you have her available in the S rank selector. And triple S is mainly just a damage increase for those who are going to go all out on Lucia. I would still prioritize Lucia's weapon over her double S3 though, just because it feels a little bit better to use. So let's get to that next. So we're going to be equipping the 5-star weapon as usual to showcase the rotation here. Is Lucia locked to her 6-star weapon? Not technically. The 5-star weapon works, it's just the rotation is a little bit changed. It's basically going to be the double S rotation, but you don't do the double ult. You only do that first starter ult. We're going to swap in basic attack, hold ult, red orb, yellow orb, spam basic attack, hold, let go, and then hold basic attack again to do her fadeaway attack. Tap ult, use your sword waves all the way to the end, so the gauge is empty, then you ult. And then you use red orbs basic, and then you swap off. And you basically just keep repeating that Lucia rotation. Actually, low-key, Lucia at 5-star weapon has a less dank rotation, because she's not able to do more than one ult. Oh my god, the irony. TLDR, she works, it's just a less efficient rotation. 5-star weapon is playable, but I recommend getting the 6-star weapon as soon as you can, since she is the main DPS for the fire team. I highly recommend you grab at least deadline timing for her, because it just makes her rotation more consistent and a little bit easier to remember, since you don't have to depend on yellow orbs anymore. You can kind of just keep spamming the red orbs. Just one less thing to worry about. For the other resonances, Afterglow and Incandescence works for her second and third resonances. As for Lucia's builds, she will always be running her 4-piece signature set, Heraclitus, all times for her kit-specific damage multipliers. As for the 2-piece set, 2-piece Kali is going to be her main set for like 99% of situations. And if you want to harmonize, then you want to harmonize 4-piece Kali. And as for her resonance, if you have Lucia at double S3 or below, then the preferred resonance is basic attack and ultimate. But if you have triple S or higher, or you're just lazy to roll resonances, you can always do plus 15 attack and ultimate. So if you don't really care about min-maxing, either plus 15 attack or basic attack is fine. Overall, it's not the end of the world if you can't roll 8 basic attacks at double S. Plus 15 attack is fine. Mine is just kind of a mix because I'm just too lazy to swap it. And some people may be wondering about 4-piece Shakespeare. Overall, it's not really recommended due to the inconsistencies of her rotation. You can technically run it, but it will require you to use more of the yellow orbs, which will take up more of your time in rotations. It's just a lot slower than running Kali and then alternating between yellow orbs and red orbs, and it's just less smooth to play. So I won't be covering 4-piece Shakespeare. If you're really desperate and you really don't want to re-resonate Watanabe with 4-piece Shakespeare, you could technically run Lucia on 4-piece Shakespeare. At that point, it's probably more worth to just run 2-piece Kali or resonate 2-piece Kali. As for Hypertune, Hypertune the bottom row, so slots 4, 5, and 6 first, and then slots 1, 2, and 3 afterwards. And for the awakening, I like to just awaken the red orbs because that's the one that she wants to use the most. The yellow orbs you don't really need, and blue orbs you already have plenty during the plasma Plasma Rotation. And if you're in the super early game and you don't have access to Event Shop yet, you can run like 4-piece Ike, 2-piece Gloria, but just clear Chapter 2-3. For Plasma team, always be running the 2-piece Caudy with her signature set, but for harmonization, you want to be running the 2-piece Wild for the increased damage for Plasma. Resonance for the Plasma set, plus 15 attack or basic attack on the top slot, and then ultimate on the bottom slot. So exact same resonances, same Hypertune priorities, bottom row first, and then top. Lucia should always be the leader. As for the starter, it should always be the Da Vinci holder or the supports, and usually it's Liv Amp. We want Lucia on her signature set, so 4-piece Hera, and then 2-piece Caudy, harmonized 4-piece Caudy. And as for Watanabe, now in Fire Warzone, he should always be running his signature set Alphanos, and then 4-piece Shakespeare. Running Caudy on him is just not as ideal anymore since he's not really the main DPS. If you have Watanabe harmonized, you want to be running 4-piece Shakespeare on him all the time, regardless if you have deadline timing or not. But if you don't have him harmonized, 4-piece Alphanos and 2-piece Einstein also works. As for the resonance, if you haven't resonated Watanabe yet, I would probably pivot more towards purely class skill now, so tank class skill over his ultimate, but having ultimate on him is fine because he still does damage, especially in Warzone. As for Liv, she'll be running 4-piece Da Vinci, 2-piece Einstein, and if you have her harmonized, you can harmonize her with 2-piece Guinevere. Again, you don't need to resonate her, but if you do, amplifier class resonance would be the ideal. And now let's get into the Paincage build. Lucia will be on her exact same fire set, so 4-piece Hera, 2-piece Caudy, or harmonized 4-piece Caudy. Watanabe will now revert to a Da Vinci bot, 4-piece Da Vinci and 4-piece Shakespeare if he's harmonized. Again, if he's not harmonized, 2-piece Einstein here. If you have extra resonances, you can resonate class skill. Again, this is only if Watanabe doesn't come on field. If he does swap in on field and the enemy has like more than like a few health bars, you probably should go back to running his DPS set. And as for Liv's Paincage build, she'll be running 4-piece Guinevere, 2-piece Gloria, and then harmonized 2-piece Einstein. Again, if you don't have her harmonized, then just run 4-piece Guinevere and 2-piece Einstein. And again, resonate class skill here if you have the extra resources. So for the Plasma team, again, only worth using the Plasma team if you have a Leaped Karenina Shire or you have Lilith, which is coming the upcoming patch. But we're gonna have Lucia on her Plasma set, so it'll be 4-piece of her signature set, 2-piece Caudy, and then 2-piece of Wild. And then we'll have Nana Knight as the primary sub DPS for the Plasma team. She'll be running our signature 4-piece Herschel and then 4-piece Heisen, and this is basically our set for most content. So if you want to start pre-farming Nana Knight ahead of time, that's the build. Karenina Shire, basically you need the 4-piece Da Vinci set, you need 2-piece Einstein, and you need 2-piece Gloria. And again, there won't be a budget ionization team. It's just you either have this team or you don't run ionization. That's just what it is. You could maybe use 21 Feral instead of Nana Knight, but it's going to be kind of cope in the score, and if you're in Hero and you're coping with score, you're probably going to drop below Hero anyways. And the last thing I want to cover is the budget fire team. So if you don't have Watanabe, I know a lot of people do have Bridget build, and Bridget works fine as a fire tank. Just swap to her a little bit. She won't be feeling the downtime as well as Lucia, but she does work. And also, if you don't have Bridget, you can also be using Nana Mech or the old Nanami Pulse, or hell, you can even use Nana Knight and then trigger her burn affix, and that might be enough damage to justify like putting her in there instead of other choices. And for Liv, if you don't have Liv, at that point, just basically any amplifier or support will work, unless you really like using Sophia, but I don't even know if people even know about Sophia as a character in this day and age, but she's there. Now to cover her pet or cub, the bird. Its active skill, pulls in enemies, which is useful for mob stages like Warzone. And the passive skill essentially is an ultimate damage increase and have coordinated attacks when we're using the hold basic during the sword waves. So overall, it's a pretty strong pet, not necessary, but the grouping is nice and the damage increase is decent. So if you have the spare cup tickets from Norman or from Battle Pass, I would say it's worth pulling. One of the better pets in terms of utility, but it's not needed for her to function. For leveling, make sure you level the exclusive skill first, followed by the burn damage and then attack. But that's pretty much Lucia, the OG GOAT. She's got a lot of rotations, as you already can see. So hopefully you guys were able to follow a little bit here. But I would say overall, in terms of her pull value and build recommendations, she's gonna be the premier fire DPS going forward. The Hyper Reel has served as well, but Lucia is just cooking straight fire. Like compared to Hyper Lee, Lucia has more time stop attacks. She has more damage all around. She has faster rotations, and she's more future proof with the Plasma team. So Hyper Lee just can't really compete. So 07 Hyper Lee, you know. Is that Lee? What the? Bro got kicked out of the fire team once and became an enemy. That crazy. Lucia also works without her signature weapon and her pet. They do give her a solid damage increase, and her weapon speeds up her rotation a bit as well, so I recommend picking up the weapon, at least for ease of use. But as you already can see, Lucia has so many different ways to play her. There's no way I could cover every single possible rotation for her. Obviously, there's a ton, and I'm not going to get into it, but she's Kuro's icon, and they definitely did cook with her. They cooked a lot with her. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but she is a lot of fun. And there's even a whole ton of like unique moves that I haven't even covered. So one thing you can do is when an enemy attacks, is you can hold dodge to basically do a counterattack, and also a ton of different ult rotations that she can do. I'm not going to get into it because we've already covered too many rotations, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to melt before Lucia melts my heart with the amount of possible combos that I can do with her. That's basically it. I don't know how you could not pull for Lucia. Literal wife, been here from the beginning, best girl, not biased at all. Balter is getting her leap with the new slash team rotation. You want to swap it on Balter. Classic Balter gameplay, fill up our gauge. Make sure it's full. This is very important for slash. And then we want to dodge back and then basic attack spam. And this will build up stacks. As you can see here, we have 150 slash stacks. Then we can use ult to do massive slash damage. So that's basically the main change when it comes to Balter's Leap. Now let me go through the rotation for the slash team. So for this Affix rotation, it's highly recommended you have a SS3 deadline timing Han Ying for the slash stacks. If you have less than SS3 Han Ying, it's pretty rough to get the max amount of slash stacks for Balter. And Balter ideally is SS or higher, SS with vouchers. But we're gonna start with Elisa, swap into Han Ying, do a yellow orb ping, red orb ping until we see the green orb, tap ult, and then we'll do blue orb, tap ult, blue orb, tap ult, basic attack to detonate, blue orb, tap ult, blue orb, tap ult, basic attack to detonate, and then spam tap the ults for the ult finisher. Now we want to swap into Balter, fill up the sword gauge to max, use your ult, dodge back once, basic attack spam for the slash stacks. We should be getting 150. Then we can go ahead and ult with double QTEs. And then we'll swap to Elisa. Elisa's rotation is the same as it's always been for physical. And then you swap back to Han Ying and you do it again. That's the slash rotation. So as for the rest of the patch updates, we will be getting a free copy of Bianca, so that's 30 shards. This update, she'll have her own basically mini event. You basically get enough quote unquote pulls for her by doing dailies and spinning a wheel for rewards. And in that wheel, you'll have 14 free pulls on various banners. You'll have a free multi for limited banners, so those are your yellow tickets. You'll have a free multi for the standard banner, so that's the blue tickets. And you'll have about 3,000 battle pass vouchers and red memory USBs. You'll also get free leap upgrade materials and pulls. Some other changes, we should be getting the 6-star weapon guaranteed if you lose the 80-20 rate up. So if you lose the rate up the first time, the next one's guaranteed. We get a new permanent game mode, Awakening Tundra, some rewards like pulls and voucher tickets and stuff like that. There should be a claim all button for Paincage, so you don't have to individually click each one, which is a somewhat nice quality of life. This will be the last patch that has the S rank selector before it resets. So if you haven't used your S rank banner guarantee from the Lamia update, I believe, make sure to grab your free S rank from standard now, so that when the next patch after Lucia Nana Knight's patch rolls around, you'll have another guarantee ready for whatever S rank you need. Thanks for watching. I know it's super long. Finally got through it. My Twitch chat has been here for like the past 6 hours. Thanks for watching the video. I know it's a little bit long, but Lucia deserves it. Happy wife, happy life, the quote of the day. If you would like to see these guides early and get questions answered live, join us on Twitch. Drop a like if you found this video helpful, a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe for more guides for future characters. And thank you for my helpers for proofreading and helping me come up with rotations and stuff like that. Thank you to my editor, my YouTube members, and my Twitch subscribers. I appreciate all the support. I'll see you all in the Nanami guide coming soon. For now, take care. Peace late. I'm gonna go sleep. We're done. The promise, chat, is wait, was I recording? Wait, was I recording? No. You'll hear me slowly die every single time. And if I sound more and more depressed the longer the video goes, you know why. You know why. You know, it's like I'm gonna clap here, and then hopefully on DaVinci Resolve, there's like a spike in audio. Here. Oh my god, I'm noise canceling out of this. Ah! Okay, there we go. Sorry, chat. We're free, chat. We fucking did it. Get me out. Bro, my VLC player died. Take 5, I guess, of SS3. I wish it was just 1. Nanami has 1. Lucia's like, I got 9. Wait. Why was my recording paused? How long was it paused for? Almost there, chat. Last rotation. Last rotation. Are you guys still awake? Who's still alive? Who's still... I didn't even cover slash yet. Oh, really? Oh my... Oh my god, chat. It's another rotation.